Hello, fellow writers. I'm Lewis. That over there is Tolkien, and you have found the Scripturian Society.
Welcome, everybody, to this episode of the Scripturian Society. That over there is your that's your host, Karissa Harlow, aka Lewis. She's always mixing it up. That crazy Lewis.
So crazy, so unpredictable over here in my rule following, totally introverted way. I don't know.
I'm your other host, Ash O'Rourke, aka Tolkien, and I'm the one you would expect to mix it up. I like how when you mix things up, you almost like, what's the opposite of mixed it up? Because you were like, I'm just going to clearly pronunciate and
like I'm just gonna get even more clear.
Yeah, that's how you're mixing it up.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm like, hey, welcome
Let's
to
get
this
crazy and pronounce all the T's in the English language. Like internet, it's like internet. Welcome to the internet.
Welcome to the internet, everybody. Are you guys watching this on the internet?
Podcast? I was gonna say.
Oh, or using
Yes.
Yeah, you're accessing the internet, aren't you?
Yeah. Where are we?
Maybe it depends what you're listening through as well.
Yeah,
I don't know. But if you guys are watching on YouTube, hello. We look the same in this episode as we did the last because we recorded them one after the other.
Yes.
I am wearing this pretty colorful necklace I got for $10 from a farmer's market a couple weeks ago. And it's so pretty. I've been waiting for an opportunity to wear it. And I'm wearing this little like dress thing.
It looks very nice together.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I typically wear like a t-shirt and like sweats around the house because I'm just here by myself. Working all day long. But today, for some reason, I was like, maybe I will feel better about myself if I put on something that is like, it looks like I've made an effort.
Yeah.
I'll say it helped by like 5%. So probably what would help more is sleep, which is actually going to be very relevant for our theme for this episode, which we'll get into soon. But yeah, funny how that goes. I can't ask you, what have you done this week? Because
I was just thinking, so by the time you guys hear this, I will have, the reason that we are recording a couple in a row is because I'm getting my wisdom teeth out. But by the time you hear this, I will have had my wisdom teeth out.
She'll be wisdomless.
I will have lost all my wisdom, but hopefully my dental health will improve. Not that it's that bad, but
mine is bad. I have like 2 cavities and I need to get my teeth cleaned and I need to get all of my wisdom teeth removed.
Fun.
I don't want to go. I'm just not going. Anyways, continue.
No, I was just going to say, I have no idea what that will be like. So we'll see. You guys will find out next week how it went, even though it'll be like several weeks removed by that point. I like to be extra prepared. So,
I get that.
You know, the guy is like, you know, you'll probably take about 3 days to recover. And I'm like, great, Ash, we need to plan for 2 weeks out just in case I die or something.
Oh my God, that's horrible. You're not going to die. You'll be
in case I get an infection and have to be hospitalized. Like, I want to be prepared.
I do get that though. I'd also like to be prepared. We recorded TPBC, That Pretentious Book Club. We also recorded 2 episodes in a row last week. But that's because Javi and I were going to go to the Oyster Fest this weekend. Now we're not. So we were prepared for no reason. But I mean, I guess now I have like a weekend of not having to like worry about recording and editing, which I'm usually doing on at least 1 or 2 or both days of the weekend. So
yeah,
I guess there's that.
Cool.
Do you have any exciting plans for this week upcoming besides your teeth thing?
No, that's on Tuesday. So
that's next Tuesday.
It's coming up. I don't know. How much do you guys care about my wisdom teeth? I get really anxious. I know I get really anxious about anesthesia. So I don't even care about losing my wisdom. I just care that I'm going to have to be out. And I have this fear of waking up in the middle of it and then like feeling everything, because it did happen to me once. I didn't feel anything, but I did wake up in the middle of a different surgery.
Yeah.
And it was so traumatic that I cried and I think I almost died by choking on my tears.
Oh,
so it was I just have weird reactions to anesthesia. I either get very, very angry and hit people, or I sob so hard I can't breathe.
Oh my goodness.
So wisdom teeth, I hope it at least goes the angry route so that I can breathe.
Yeah.
So
I hope so as well. I also hope you don't wake up. When I used to write for lawyers, I had to write articles about like medical malpractice and like there are like cases of people waking up under anesthesia, which is not super common. It's very uncommon, but it does happen. And it does sometimes due to an error by the anesthesiologist or somebody else on the team. Or I guess you could be like Chris and just have really weird reactions to anesthesia. But that's a bummer.
Mainly it's so they'll tell you if you guys have ever been in to get anything done where they have to put you out, they tell you to count backwards from 10, and then they tell you that you should think of a calm, peaceful place, right? It's like I try to think of like libraries and that kind of stuff, but it could be a beach, it could be anything. You're not supposed to think of exciting things like a roller coaster or anything that makes you happy. You're just supposed to think of something calming, because the calmer you are, the better the anesthesia will work on you. So if you're excited, if your heart rate is up, you are fighting the anesthesia. And that's essentially what I do. Is I get so anxious that I fight it off and I force myself awake, even though the fear is that I will wake up.
Oh no.
So, super fun, ironic
thing. You need to pick a different happy place that's not the library, because you also are getting excited about being in the library. You need to pick something that would lull you to sleep.
Yeah. What lulls me to sleep?
I don't know. When I meditate
sleep.
for free, you don't, which is a problem. When I do like meditation for free diving, for breath training, I usually picture that I'm like cradled in a current in the water and it's drifting me. But in this scenario, I don't need to breathe because you don't need to in this weird brain headspace. And it's so peaceful.
Yeah.
So that's one. And then there's another one where I'm just walking down steps to this like underground like grotto thing and stepping into the water and then going into that. So because it's so peaceful, I would just go to sleep and dream it and just be like totally at peace. And that's what I use for free diving breath training, because when you're doing like when you free dive, you want your heart rate to be as low as possible, because then you use less oxygen. Yeah. So that's the calmer that you can get, the better when you're free diving.
Maybe I'll picture the Mako mermaid cave.
There you go. Hey, that's kind of what my grotto looks like. Yeah. Because it is really calming.
Try that. I also really just hate needles, and they have to do the IV anesthesia. I'm like, I know it works better, but gosh,
it's a bummer. Well, the good news is too, having your wisdom teeth removed is very fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when my ex-boyfriend he just had one removed, but it was literally like 10 minutes. Like I was shocked. They were like, okay, he's ready. And I was like, wait, what?
A lot of surgeries do not take as long as you think they should.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it usually takes more than an hour for them to do my pacemaker thing. I'm always like, shouldn't this take several hours?
No, apparently not.
It does not.
I forget. Did you say that your wisdom teeth are impacted at all or no?
No.
So it should be really
like slightly, but it's not significant.
That's good. So it should be pretty fast. Whenever I get mine done, I think it will be slightly longer because they have to saw through my jawbone, because my bottom two wisdom teeth grew into my jawbone. So they were like, wow, yep, it's totally in your jaw. And I was like, how did I not feel this happening?
Like, how did I feel this happening? Aren't teeth inherently in your jaw?
Well, they are, but they're like, this part of your jawbone here is not supposed to have teeth growing into it.
Oh, so it's like deeper into the jaw.
Yeah. So back farther on the jaw where you're not supposed to have teeth, I have teeth that grew into the bone. So
fun.
Yeah. So that's great. So that's another reason I haven't gone, but I, at the very least, need to go and get my cavities taken care of. I know that, like, anyways.
Yeah. Dental stuff is hard because if you're not in pain, it's so easy to be like, cool, I'll put this off till 2025.
Yeah. My teeth look fine. I'll just put it off for another 5 years, which is what I did this time. Yeah. And that's why they're like, your teeth are now in your jaw. And I was like,
epic.
Dang it. Awesome. It was fine 5 years ago.
5 years ago, it was only starting to get concerning. What do you mean it's bad now?
What do you mean that things have gotten worse? That's unbelievable.
Ugh,
also, dental stuff is just very expensive. And I think I'm not sure if I have dental insurance right now. The other thing is when you have military insurance, it's kind of a hassle because like any kind of change in your spouse's or yours, if you're in any kind of like change in your status or whatever, or your different types of orders, like federal versus state versus whatever the hell, it can change whether or not you're actively enrolled in insurance. And
that sucks.
Yeah. And so multiple times I've like gone to the doctor and they're like, your insurance is inactive. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, well, it says inactive. So then I have to call TRICARE and be like, why? And they're like, yeah, it's inactive because of some change or other. And then I'm like, well, I want to reactivate it. And they're like, okay. But I still have to go pay for stuff with, sans insurance. So that's another reason I'm like, I hate dealing with insurance and I don't want to. And TRICARE is very complicated. So, and I've had TRICARE a lot because I grew up with TRICARE too. So you'd think I had gotten better understanding it, but I haven't. So I also need Javi to be like, I need him to confirm before I go back to the dentist.
Yeah.
That we do indeed have dental insurance again. Cause yeah. Anyways.
I mean, like one of the other weird things, just, if you guys just want to know all about my medical history. The other weird thing about the wisdom teeth surgery is that this is the first like really big medical thing I'll have done since becoming an adult. So I'm on my own, like insurance wise and price wise and all of this stuff. And like that, I haven't done that before. And so so I have a pacemaker, right? And I'm 100% dependent, and we're coming up where I probably have to get a new one in like 2 or 3 years or so. And part of me is like, not a large part, but a part of me is like, should I just let myself time out and die to avoid the insurance?
Carissa Harlow.
I know. I'm not going to do that. Just part of me is like, would that be easier?
Oh my gosh. Well, I get
have to go through the stress of the anesthesia and everything, just slowly drift away. It would probably suck, and I'd probably in the moment be like, I regret everything.
That would be horrible. But I do get the fear of dealing with all of the annoying insurance and cost and procedure itself. And mine is just for wisdom teeth. And
the recovery, which I hate. I just hate being post surgery. It's the word. It takes me so long because like it's not in my arm, but it's like up in my shoulder area, so I can't move my arm for like 6 months because I get really weird about it. And so I'm like, gosh, is this worth it? It is. It's my life, but
it's definitely worth it. But that makes sense. I'm a weenie and I don't even want to go get my wisdom teeth removed because of the hassle I'm gonna have to go through. And I should just use this as my like moment of Ash, what the hell? Like yours is so much less intense than Carissa's. Just go get the damn thing taken care of.
I know. Mine isn't even that intense. I just make it intense because I'm terrified. So
well, it's fair. I can see why. So you don't need to be scared about your wisdom teeth though, because you've been through way harder.
The thing about the wisdom teeth is that it is actively my choice for the first time. Like I could choose not to. And so hopefully that will make it better, because every other medical procedure I've had is like, it's either this or death. And I'm like, well, I guess I'll choose to live, but I don't have a choice.
Stressful. Yeah. Wisdom teeth is elective. Even with my case, it's still elective. So that is true. Hopefully that, and maybe try like a new like Mako mermaids meditation thing and see if that helps you.
It's true. I will let you know if that works.
You should download like a breathing tables thing. You can do like CO2 and O2 tables. It's great because it's fun. No, I mean, it just feels, it's just if you meditate, I guess it's just kind of like a good way to meditate. I do it for free diving, but it's a great way to like train your brain to calm down enough that you can lower your heart rate on purpose to calm yourself. So it is pretty cool because you're like, I've done other meditation stuff too, and I've never really been into it, but it is when you're like with a purpose, you're trying to hold your breath for as long as possible, and everybody be safe, like don't do it standing up or walking around or in the water by yourself. But it is nice because it's so effective. Like when you get to the point where you figure out, okay, this many breathe ups or whatever, and I can feel my heart rate slowing down. It's so amazing because you're like, I didn't know I could have this much control over my physiology. Yeah, it's amazing.
If anyone has ever read Maximum Ride, I know you haven't because
nope,
talked about this before, but if you've ever read Maximum Ride, I think it's in the third one. There's this part where Max like purposefully does that, where she like forces her heart rate so low that they think she's dead so that she can escape. And I remember reading this and just being like, gosh, is that possible? Could I do that? And then I tried for like 5 minutes to see if I could force my heart rate down. And I'm like, no. And the funny thing is I could, because I have a pacemaker and I could legitimately program it to go that low if I wanted to, but I won't. And so I'm just like, gosh, is that a thing that human beings can do? So it's interesting that you can't. I mean, I don't know, up to
I don't know if you could do it that much, but you can. I wonder, champion freedivers, I'd be interested to know, like the world record breaking freedivers, I'd be interested to know what their heart rate is, like when they typically go down.
Like the lowest it can be where they're still alive.
Mine I'm sure is nothing compared to that, but it is nice because I am kind of an anxious person all the time and always moving and always going. So the only time where I am, except for when I'm dead asleep, and I often have nightmares, so that is still, or very vivid dreams, so I still probably have my heart like going while I'm asleep. So aside from when I'm in like a dead sleep, which is not even that often, or doing my breath training or free diving, I think my heart rate is always a little bit elevated. So it's so nice to know that you have that kind of control. I think it also helps. Like I'm weirdly good for such an anxious person. I'm very good under pressure. It's like I was built to be under pressure, and that's it. Because like my brain goes into like reptile mode, and it's like everything is going to be fine, and like emotions go away and heart rate drops, and I'm like, I'm built for this scenario. So I guess also emergencies, my heart rate I think probably goes low, but it's also nice because I can kind of like compound that with, now I know how to lower my heart rate some. So yeah, it's a nice skill to have. It feels very good too, because if you're like me, you are always in a state of
it'll help you calm down.
Yeah. So it is, it's very nice. Yeah.
I need to learn that in the next 6 days.
It's fun. You could totally do it in 6 days. It's not a hard skill. Like it's really, it's not hard. Yeah. If I can do it, anyone can do it. And I have asthma. Yep.
Even the asthmatic can do it.
If the asthmatic can do it, y'all can do it. Yep.
Cool. Anyway,
anything else you want to share with the listeners about our personal lives and fears and medical issues?
No. Does anyone else have a pacemaker? Because I have one.
Anyone else have a pacemaker? I don't think I know anyone else has a pacemaker.
My 86-year-old grandpa does.
Yeah, my grandfather did.
Great uncle does. So all the people I know with one are olds.
Yeah, so that was the same. I don't know any younger person except for you. Yeah. Ta-da. Ta-da. Well, I think you'll be totally fine for your wisdom teeth one, because like you said, it's elective, your choice, and you've been through way harder. So it's
true.
Yeah. You're like a pro.
You would really think at this point I wouldn't even be anxious anymore. I'd be like, cut me open, who cares? But nope.
No, I would not expect you to be like that.
Well, I'm not so good.
Oh, good. Well, do we have any more book recs to share with our listeners this episode?
No, everything. I'm still rereading the Sisters Grimm series, so those are my only other books I've read lately.
I kind of did the same thing with so we did this week's episode of That Pretentious Book Club is the first book in the Sentinels of New Orleans series, Royal Street. The second one is River Road, so I got them mixed up. But yeah, you're all like
blurry.
You're blurry. Yeah, you're at. Oh, there we go.
Okay,
she was out of focus there for a second.
I was like, is this my eyes or am I blind or is it the screen?
No, it was blurry. Okay. Yeah, so I have been doing what you're doing, where you're like, I just have to reread the series. And I never do this because I'm always reading for the pod and I'm doing a million things. And so I don't typically like finish out like a favorite series, but oh my, I can't stop. I'm like in book 3 now, I think. Love it. Yeah, it's so fun. I love this series. Also, when we record multiple episodes at once, I have the freedom to read what I want for like a whole week. So
yeah,
it's
super
I do think
nice. Too, when you're rereading, you kind of already know what's going to happen, so it doesn't take you as long. You're probably not reading as carefully as on the first time, so you can also breeze through them a little quicker.
It's true, you definitely can. Oh, and I think I might have implied before or said before that the Sentinels of New Orleans is a young adult series. I just want to clarify that is not true. It's actually new adult into adult, but it's written like a young adult. Like it's written with the energy,
the action,
the
pace. Yeah.
Yes. It's got the pacing of a young adult, which is why I love it so much, because I think the main character is like 24, 25 in the first book, which is so nice. And then of course in every book, you know, she's getting older and older. And I think there's 4 or 5. And then, so at that point, it really is an adult book, but yeah, with the pacing and excitement and fantasy and adventure of a YA. So
I wish more adult books would do that.
I know. And it's got my favorite thing, which is multiple love interests, not love triangle, multiple very different love interests.
Yes.
So it's fun. You can like root for the different ones, and it's a fun, crazy dynamic with every single. Yeah, the Ghost Pirate is obviously my favorite, but it's just like an interesting, very different dynamic with each one. So well done. Anyway, so I know I've already made the recommendation, but because I'm rereading the whole series, I'm going to make it again. Go read Sentinels of New Orleans.
Both of us are just going to say Sisters Grimm and Sentinels of New Orleans over and
from
over
now
again.
on. So it's not really this is not really book rec corner. This is Sentinels of New Orleans and Sisters Grimm corner.
Exactly. It is weird because I've been rereading them and they are so middle grade in the sense that there is a lot of like childish, immature humor in them. Of course. And I was never into that. And so I'm reading these and I'm like, why did I like these? I know why I like them because it's everything else, but I'm like, gosh, I really forgave a lot of the jokes that were just not my style because I loved everything else about them.
That's funny. Yeah, I'm not super forgiving about about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I think as an adult, I'm more forgiving. Like Napoleon Dynamite, the movie, I hated it as a kid. Hated it because it made so many kind of jokes that were not my style. But now I see clips of it as an adult. Exactly. And as a kid, I was like, oh, I don't like it. But now as a grown up, I'll see clips and I'm like, this is pretty funny. I think I need to watch it again.
When if you guys have ever seen the movie, whenever I'm watching ASMR, because this is a thing I do, and they do like the hand movements, I always think of they're doing the butterfly thing, and Napoleon is just doing the butterfly over his face, and he's just so weird about it. I think about that constantly.
That is so. I need to rewatch that so bad. Come out here and hang out with me. We can watch it.
Yeah.
Next month we can watch it. Yeah, we can watch it in my new home next month.
Ooh, that's right.
Yay. So what is our word of the week for this episode?
Okay. I really like this word, and I don't know if maybe people have heard of it. Anyway, quiddity. 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 It is the inherent nature or essence of something or someone, whatever makes something the type that it is. So like the quiddity of Ash would be forgetfulness and
chaos,
writer energy and chaos.
Writer energy. Ooh. So Carissa's quiddity is like I'm trying to think.
I'm curious what you're gonna say.
I went the first word. The first word that came to mind was fearless, and then something about grammar.
Ironic.
It was fearless, staunch, grammar. These are some of the things that make up your quiddity.
I like that. I'll take that. Yeah, quiddity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the word quiddity. It's fun. It's quiddity. Like a Q word, which so few words are Q words.
It's like Quidditch.
It's also really cool.
But quiddity.
It is. I wonder if that's the root word of Quidditch.
Oh, I wonder.
Sports. I don't know.
Sports.
Yeah. If wizarding sports, Quidditch.
No sports are part of my quiddity.
Yeah, exactly. Me, just the Olympics. Otherwise, no sports is part of my quiddity. But yeah, I mean, like more seriously, like the quiddity of like, I don't know, and like your soul would be a quiddity aspect.
Interesting.
So
I like
this. It's a fun word. Yeah.
Ooh, I feel like I can use this. This one's definitely going to trip a Javi. He's definitely not going to know what this one means. I can't wait to try this one on him.
Yeah.
Javi, what would you say my quiddity is?
You'd be like, your what?
My quiddity. Haven't you heard of it? It's very common.
Everyone knows the word quiddity. I remember when I was in I think it was 7th grade, and someone used the word zealous, right? And I'd never heard the word zealous before. And so I was like, what are you talking about? And every person around me was like, yeah, zealous. It means da da da, right? And I was just like horrified. I know, but maybe that's why I'm like this. I never want to be in that position again where everyone knows a word that I don't know.
Oh my God. That's what you're like, I have to be the one who knows words no one knows.
Yeah. I have to shame people, not be the one shamed.
That is so funny. I just assume I know less than a lot of people. And I'm not interested in trying hard enough to be the one that knows the most.
Like, I'm good with being here.
I have noticed that even the things I do know, a lot of people refuse to give me credit for knowing. And so I'm at the point where I'm like, why bother? They're not going to acknowledge I know it anyways. So being an editor for money over time, you get a lot of that, especially with some of my male clients who were older and they were misogynistic. They were pretty misogynist. Yes, they were very confident in themselves and very much less confident in me, the person that they had hired to edit for them.
Right.
Yeah. Anyways, should we get into our theme for this episode?
Yeah. So we're going to talk about some of the unhealthy habits that typically plague writers and how to turn yourselves around, I guess.
Yep. You do the hokey pokey and you develop healthy writing habits and you turn yourself around.
That's what it's all about.
Hey,
that's what this episode is all about.
It is what this episode's all about.
So yeah, if you have been a writer for any period of time, you've probably developed some less than healthy habits. They're not always not useful. They're just unhealthy. Let's see, what should we start with? Do you have one you want to start with in particular, or a general statement?
I think I think a lot of people turn to writing, first of all, because we don't process as well verbally, or at least it's an important part of our processing. And so for a lot of people who haven't learned a bunch of different ways to process, I think we can be drawn to ways of coping that aren't always healthy. So I do think this is something that artists in general, artists are known for being kind of chaotic, and sometimes it's fun and crazy, and sometimes it's very self-destructive. So I think if you're in any kind of art field, but especially writing, because everyone here is probably a writer, that's why you clicked into this podcast, you just need to really monitor yourself and just be aware of what you are using as coping mechanisms and whether or not they're helping you, and if there's any drawbacks to them, because it's really easy to fall into a habit that you think is just a habit or coping, and then to find that it's kind of controlling you more than it's helping you, or that it's kind of like damaging your life in whatever ways. So I think just something everybody needs to be aware of, but especially in the arts.
Yeah, I would agree. I think too, people in the arts, I suppose, tend to take like those unhealthy habits and they almost
glamorize them.
They get a certain sense of pride from them. And so like alcoholism is the big one that's coming to mind. So many writers are like, yeah, I'm an alcoholic. And it's like, well, that's bad.
Not good. Hello, Ernest Hemingway was too. And people like to point to him as a way of glamorizing it. But Ernest Hemingway was very miserable towards the end of his life. And didn't he kill himself? That was how he passed away, wasn't it? I think it was. He wouldn't be the only one. That's pretty common for artists, especially if they've been alcoholic for a long time and were never able to get free of that.
Or they die of liver disease or something
because it hurts your body,
or someone kills you because they're upset that you're an alcoholic.
So it's dangerous. It's bad for your health. It's bad for your mental health and emotional health too. And it's damaging to relationships. And that's just one type of coping mechanism. Caffeine addiction is another one for the non-alcoholic identifying writers. And it's weird that I say that because it is like a glamorized thing. So even writers who aren't alcoholics will kind of like almost posture as if they are, because it's what you quote unquote, it's the thing, to be when you're an artist or a writer.
Is definitely like
caffeine's a huge one.
If you spend any amount of time on social media with writers, it's like, I'm addicted to coffee. If you try to look up online, like I want a fun book shirt, it's going to have something about wine or coffee.
Yep.
And it's always like, some of it is in good fun and it's like, haha, okay. But it does become a problem at some point. And you're like, gosh, you really shouldn't be romanticizing something that is that bad for someone.
Whatever it is, whether it's coffee, alcohol, or something else, you just need to check two things to make sure you're okay. One is that it is not controlling you more than you're controlling it. And the other is that it's adding to your life. It's not taking away from. And those are the hardest things to sometimes think about and like pin down. But like, this is where you can have some drinks. I drink multiple times. Like my family's Italian and they have a glass of wine a night. I grew up with that. Do I get drunk? Very rarely do I get drunk. And that's okay to get drunk every now and then either. This is not a don't drink everybody or shaming anybody for whatever your coping mechanism is. It's just to be aware of. If you are drinking a ton to sit down to write, or if you're just drinking a ton because that's how you identify, or just for whatever reason, and it's getting to the point where you feel like you're missing something if you don't have it, that might be time to just like try and pull back a little bit or get some help to pull back and find a healthier coping mechanism. Same with coffee. If you're like, I just can't get through the day without multiple cups of coffee. I get like 1 cup of coffee is pretty normal. That's probably what I have every day. But if it like fills an emotional need with you, maybe not as healthy. Also, coffee can like really, the studies have shown that coffee can make your anxiety much worse. And a lot of us also have anxiety. So if you don't deal with anxiety, maybe coffee is not as much of a problem for you, good for you. Just whatever you're coping with, be aware of how it's affecting you. So coffee might not be a problem for some people, and someone else drinking the same amount of coffee, it might be giving them jitters and anxiety. They could get really bad headaches if they miss a cup. If you have a very strong attachment, just be aware of how it's affecting you and how you'll be without it. Because if you're going to have like withdrawals from not having caffeine, that's not great. What if you run out of coffee? Like you need to be okay without it.
Yeah, I agree. Because, and this is an everyone thing, at least in America, that I've noticed is like most people are like, I'm not really awake until I have my coffee and that kind of stuff. And I know that part of it is in good fun, right? Yeah. But there is a subset of the population that is dead serious about that. And I'm like, gosh, that's concerning. I
literally just saw a meme about that today.
Fine.
Yeah. I saw, and I have a cup of coffee every morning, and I woke up and I saw that today. And again, I had it's weird because it's coincidental because we didn't plan to do this episode, but I had the exact same thought where I was like, God, I can't imagine what that's like to like, don't even talk to me until I have my coffee. Like, I'm not a different person after I've had my coffee. Like, if you need to be a different person to get through your day, and don't do something else. Like, that's anyways. And those
you
are just
be the same person on and off coffee or alcohol.
Exactly. And those are just 2 coping mechanisms. There's a lot of them. There's, isolation is not a coping mechanism, but it's a habit for a lot of us. I know I do the same thing. Especially in like, COVID and post-COVID times, we have to be careful because it's so easy to isolate, and we were probably already isolating. And I am one of the most independent people I've ever met. And I can go a very long time without seeing people before I like miss people. But even on me, it takes a toll. If you're getting to the point where you're anxious to be in public or having panic attacks at the idea of being in public or being in public, like, gotta do something, like make some effort.
Calling me out, Ash.
I'm actually calling me out, but I think I'm probably calling a lot of the writers.
Everyone is simultaneously like, I don't like this podcast. Yes. It's too true.
Yeah. But lately it's been really bad. I finally hit my wall of I've been having a hard time. And so I made myself text some friends, even I'm like, I don't have any friends. And I'm like, Ash, at the very least, you have friendly acquaintances.
Yeah. People you could have lunch with or something.
Yeah, exactly. So reach out. And I was also like, I'm always the one to reach out. I hate that. You know what? It gets to the point where it doesn't matter. Like for my own mental health, I need to be around people. So or you could go to the library and be around people there too. But like also interacting with people is different than just being out in public. Although probably should do that too if you haven't done it in a while. I'm also pretty bad at that. But be the first one to reach out if you're too isolated. Like, I know it sucks. It feels way better for it to be wanted for someone to reach out to you, but something is better than nothing. And most likely they'll be jazzed to hang out with you, whether you're like close friends or just kind of friends. So do that. And like start, pick up a hobby that you can do with other people. If you're like, I don't want to leave my house, pick up, like video games, like Among Us or something, or Overcooked, which aren't like really real video games. And you can play with your headphone on and talk to people, like find a way to talk to people. Yeah. And that's just for isolation, which is one that is very common amongst writers.
I was gonna say, you said that, and my immediate reaction was, that's not a problem, which probably means it's a problem for me.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, everybody has a different it's like everyone has a different tolerance level. Some people can have a lot more to drink and they're fine. And they can drink a lot more. Like I have like a drink a night, right? I mean, I didn't tonight, but I often do. And I'm fine because for me, that's normal. But for somebody else, that might be a problem. That might be something they come to rely on. Some people have a cup of coffee a day. Some people have like 2 or 3 cups of coffee a day. It's different for everybody what your limit is. So you just be aware of and know your limits, and don't ever assume anything is not a problem because it doesn't look like it's hurting you. Like isolation. We are all pretty independent people. Most writers are. Most of us are introverts, extroverts. Hello and welcome. And you are like
unicorn you.
Yeah, you sweet little unicorn you. But for those of us who are not or tend to isolate, it's okay to an extent. This is not saying like you can't ever do these things, but if it's a habit, just be aware of how it's affecting you so that when it starts to negatively affect you, you can change course. So that's what I'm kind of trying to do right now with my isolation. Yeah,
I agree. That is a big one.
And can I call you out with one?
Me specifically? Yes. You haven't been doing that already? All right,
go. No, I actually wasn't. I was trying to call out me and other people I know.
No, I know.
This is my one for you. Okay. Sleep more. Develop healthy sleeping habits, Karissa, and everyone else.
It's so hard. It's not even that I don't sleep. It's that I sleep weird hours.
Yeah.
I mean, I also don't sleep. I get probably 6-7 hours a night at this point, but I know it's supposed to be 8 or 9.
It's supposed to be 8 or 9. And also a regular sleeping pattern also helps.
I'm just so nocturnal. I don't know.
A lot of writers are.
It's just so easy to go nocturnal. It's so hard to go diurnal. Like really it shouldn't be, because A, you would think that the sun coming up would indicate that it's time to get up. And B, that if you're getting the same amount of like the same number of hours of sleep, you'd think you'd be fine, but I'm not. If I go to bed at like 9 p.m., I'm at like, 6 a.m. I'm still like, I can't do this, even though it's been significantly over.
Yeah, it's true. Well, and this is another thing that like a lot of writers are night owls, are inspired to write at night. And that's okay sometimes. It's just like everything else. Just be aware of how it's affecting you, and just know what your limits are, and know when to change course and start to sleep more or develop better sleeping patterns, like whatever it is. Just be aware, because a lot of writers are nocturnal, and so are you naturally, but it cannot go on forever like that.
It's true.
It can, I mean, for most of us, maybe you're the magical person that will never affect, but most people that will affect at some point.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, even just functioning in society, like even if, ideally I become a full-time author and I just write for a living, I don't have to go to a job, I would still have to be up during daylight hours to like go out if I needed to, or to, have a family or anything like that. You'd still have to.
Well, and part of it can poor sleep can lead into other habits, like needing caffeine to stay awake, or not feeling the energy during the day to be around people. So you're like, I crave interaction, but I'm too tired to see people, which happens to me a lot. Not because I don't sleep, I'm very tired lately. Who knows why? I think it's a hormone thing. I'm trying to figure that out, but that's not an unhealthy habit.
That's not the point.
That's a weird body thing. But when you're too tired, you can also be like, I need people, but I don't have the energy to be around people. So it all kind of feeds together.
It does. That's true. I was thinking, for me, I don't even know what this category would be. But like dissociation kind of stuff.
Yes.
Like it is interesting. I feel like this is a strength, but it's also a bad habit, because like if I'm really into writing or really into reading, like I've talked about this, how I can only do one at a time. Like I don't transfer over to things very easily. So it's like, I don't know if any of you had this moment where you're like really into a book or you're really into writing, and then you have to get up for some reason. And I have this mirror on the back of my door, and I'll look in the mirror and I'll see myself, and I'm like,
not really recognize it.
I don't, like, who is this? Is that me? Oh, that's me. And like, I'm not even really in my own head. So it's like, that's not a problem every once in a while, but
when it's consistent,
sometimes it's like, wait, who am I?
Some people do that. I think, again, artists and writers tend to do that because we're often in our like imagination headspace.
A lot of people take on personas of characters, so it's like, who am I?
And it's also a part of a lot of anxiety disorders too. So if you find that you're dissociating to the point that it's really interfering with life, like maybe talk to somebody about it. Also, if any of these things, if you're like, I can't seem to turn this around by myself, go talk to somebody. Counselors are there for a reason. I have talked to counselors on and off. It doesn't have to be something that you do every single day for the rest of your life either. Everyone goes through more difficult periods, and you'll work on something now and then develop some other bad habit you need to get rid of later. So reach out to people who are there. BetterHelp was amazing. We're not sponsored by them, but I found an amazing counselor on BetterHelp. God, she was awesome. And I can go back and request her again if I need to talk to her. So if you need help with something, reach out. Dissociation is, and to a degree, it's not, the end of the world, but it's happening a lot. Yeah.
It's certainly a manageable type of, I don't know, mental health thing. I don't know what to call it, but it's manageable, but it's still a thing.
And if it's happening all the time, it can be really hard to engage with people. Also, if you're more tired, you may dissociate more. Like last week, I was really tired. I was really bummed out. The weather changed. It got really cold and gray and rainy again, which always knocks my mood down by like 100 pegs. And I was just sitting in bed, and Javi was trying to talk to me, and I was just dissociating, and I just could not figure really out like what he was saying or why he was saying it to me. And I think he was saying, hey, you look sad, can I help? But I was not really fully there. And so that kind of stuff, like that's obviously not healthy. If I was doing that every day or multiple times a week, that might be something I need to work on more. But part of that is also, I was so tired. I could have slept better. Also, it's like a weather thing. So,
well, I'm thinking too,
I don't do that.
I'll get really moody when I'm dissociating a lot, because then people try to talk to you, and I don't know what it is, but it's like, they're breaking your dissociation by referring to you as the actual person you are. And so they're like trying to talk to you, and you're like thrown back into your own life, and you don't want to be. And so you're like, I get really moody at least. And so, I mean, people will point it out every once in a while, like, you're in a bad mood. And I'm like, I know, but I need to be in the bad mood, even though like I really shouldn't need to be. So I don't know. It contributes to the isolation, because then it's like, you don't feel like you want to go out and see people, or
Well, it can make you feel like you also like have a foot in multiple worlds and you don't really belong in any one world, which can also contribute to the isolation or the not wanting to reach out to people. So it all kind of ties together. So this is all just about be aware of what you're experiencing, what's okay and what's not okay. And maybe take more breaks if you're realizing that it's like related to your writing or your reading. If any of these things are related to writing or reading, like you can take breaks. It's okay. And it's good. Sometimes you might need to take a couple weeks of break. If you dissociate a lot, when you really get into that like creative headspace, that's okay. As long as you know, so that you know what you'll do when you hit there.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think another big culprit probably tied into all of this also is like the screen time issue and how much time you're spending on social media and just in front of a screen. I mean, first of all, it's bad for your eyes and like your sleep and everything, like physiologically. But then on top of all that, it can become really bad for your like emotional state. Because, you know, you see everyone and they're like, my life is perfect, or they're, you know, you think they're funnier than you or they're prettier than you or whatever, even if they're not trying or whatever. I mean, like writer specific, if you're on Book Talk or Bookstagram or anything like that, other people are talking about how they're getting responses from agents or how their book is coming out soon. And it can just be so discouraging and feel like, and you know, you want to be encouraging to people and you don't want to be the kind of person that's like, well, if I can't succeed, no one should. But it can get into your brain and just make you feel, you know, like you're worthless or your writing is worthless. And it's not. It's because you're spending too much time looking at other people and what they're doing. And really, what is it? Comparison is the thief of joy. Is that the phrase?
Oh, that makes sense. If it's not that, it's something really close. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, it's great to make friends online and whatever, but at some point you also have to be able to step back and understand that online is not usually a good gauge for how someone's life is necessarily going.
Horrible gauge for it. And also just know where your headspace is before you go to pick up your phone. So like if you're in a great mood and you're feeling good, it's okay. It might be more okay to go look at that stuff. If you're already kind of vulnerable, don't do it. Don't do it. I try not to open social media at all. Because you'll just feel worse about yourself. It's just, that's what's going to happen. So just be aware of what your brain is already doing.
Also, I get really annoyed. I know this is a thing that happens constantly, is that people on social media are trying to acknowledge this. And so they'll make points like, you know, it looks like my life is perfect, but it's not. Or they'll like say encouraging things like, you know, I support you. And I'm like, you're a stranger. You don't love me. You don't know anything about me. And so it always comes across feeling very flat. And I've noticed that when I'm in a bad mood, that makes it worse.
That definitely makes it worse.
People are not trying to make it worse when they say that kind of stuff, but it's like, this is why I try not to do it on social media. It's just be like blindly supportive or blindly encouraging, because when you don't know someone and you feel like it almost makes you feel even more like you're just one of, you know, a sea of facelessness. That's because true. It's not specific to you and it's not geared toward you. And so it just makes you feel even more like you don't matter, I guess. Whereas if someone you know and love says that kind of stuff to you, it's going to hit you deep more.
I agree. I totally agree. Those blanket encouragements are definitely, especially if you're in a bad mood, they're definitely like worse than they are helpful. I know people are trying to be nice, but it's like,
it's so non-specific that it's just like not helpful, even if it's slightly off. So like if you're feeling, you know, an agent rejected my manuscript and now I'm sad, and someone is like, keep trying. It's like, well, you don't understand how many queries I've sent out or how hard I've worked on this story. And even though you mean to be helpful, I know deep down that you don't know what you're talking about. And so then it almost gives me the reverse feeling like, oh, they're talking to people that are in the beginning stages, or they're talking to people in a different place. And so it just makes it worse. So I just wouldn't use social media as your coping mechanism. I think that needs to be the place where you go to find friends or to talk about things when you are already in like a secure mindset. I don't think it should be your coping mechanism.
I agree. I think another bad habit, and social media screen time can definitely contribute to this, is, but it doesn't necessarily have to, is shaming yourself for not writing enough or not reading enough or not, you know, advancing your writing skills enough. This is probably the thing that I am my biggest problem aside from isolation, or no, even more so even than isolation, honestly. And I do like a bunch of things at once. And so, and life is busy and I like to have multiple projects, but sometimes that means that I will go months without writing. And every day that I'm not writing, instead of being like, it's okay, I have a full life that has equally important priorities in it. Writing cannot always be, I don't care who you are, what you want to do. Writing cannot always be the first priority. It can be an important priority, and that's great, but it cannot always be the first priority. And that's a good thing. If that is your first priority all the time,
it's either a hobby or a career, and no one should really have either of those things as their sole priority.
Exactly. So I think saying, like, thinking of it exactly like that, like, this is my hobby or this is my career, whatever it may be, can really help. If you say something like, this is my calling, even if you feel that, and I think it's because I have always felt that way, that makes it so much more momentous when you don't write or you go through a period of not being able to write. So really just really putting writing in its place for you, or reading or whatever it may be, and saying, the people in my life are more important than this. My mental health is more important than any hobby or career. I can't have a calling. I can't pursue a calling if I am mentally and emotionally drained. Like, even if it is your calling, if you are not taking care of the other, like your health, the people in your life, healthy relationships, joy, like, you cannot pursue a calling if you're totally drained.
It's like Maslow's pyramid of needs, or whatever it's called. So it's like oxygen, and then food, or then water, and then food, and then shelter, and then relationships, and then like your purpose or your calling. So it's like, if one of those other things is going, you do have to confront that before you can even, it just won't even go well if you try to pursue your like, I don't even remember the word, it's self something, it's not self gratification, whatever the like calling purpose tip of the pyramid is, it's not even going to work well for you if you don't have one of the lower levels of the pyramid.
Exactly. Yeah. And just because you take breaks does not mean that you are not working towards your purpose or your calling. So that's the other thing too. I'm big about like shaming myself. Like, I'm, a failure as a writer. I'm not pursuing my calling. I'm, worthless. My life is going nowhere. These are like daily when I don't write. These are the things that go through my head, which is ridiculous. Because first of all, I know that when I do tend to write, sit down and like write a whole book pretty quickly. And also, people go years without writing and then write a book and they're able to get it published. Some people don't start writing until they're in their 40s and 50s or later, and then they get published. So like, there's no cutoff. There's no time by which, oh my God, I've missed the deadline, I'll never be a writer. There's no deadline for this stuff. So like, but there can be like a deadline for other things in life. Like, if you let relationships go attended long enough, then you can reach the point of no return with relationships with people. If you let your health get out of whack for long enough, you can reach the point of no return where you can't undo the damage that you've done. So you really need to just know what your priorities are, and they should basically be what it takes to live a happy and fulfilled and healthy life first, and then think about writing, and don't guilt yourself when you can't get to it.
Yeah. Or at least think of it as a piece of that instead of the whole.
Yeah, exactly. It's not the whole. Yeah. Like, you don't exist to do that, to do that one thing.
Right.
It can be a big part of your existence, and that's great. But don't feel bad when you have to take breaks and stuff.
Yeah. I agree. It kind of I guess it sort of comes to like imposter syndrome too, which is something I've been seeing around on like Book Talk and everything a lot, how people, everything's going great, and then boom, imposter syndrome. You feel like you're actually not good at this, and people are lying to you, or they're like pitying you and saying you're good at something you're not, or whatever, which is weird because I've never experienced this, but it does seem to be apparently very common.
Yeah.
And I don't know, what is the solution to that? Ignoring it? Probably not.
It is very similar to what I've been telling myself. I thought before, when I was listening to people talk about imposter syndrome, I was like, and I think I even said in a different episode, like with Kendall, that I haven't experienced it, but I actually think I have. Not in the sense, I think I keep hearing people say it about after they've published a book and then they feel that way. And I can't imagine feeling that if I had my book published. Even after I've published self-published books, I've been like, oh, it's out there. And then I really don't think about it that much anymore. Right. But I do have moments where I'm like, is this my calling? What if I'm not meant to be? What if I'm a horrible writer and now I have no purpose in life, which is a terrifying thing, but also most people don't have to have just one purpose. So like, I think part of it is detaching some of the importance from your success, from what you think of as success, because success can look very different. And I think I don't know, just being aware of when you're in a vulnerable space and just, you can feel all those feelings and that's fine. Maybe write them down so that you can go, you know, the next time you're feeling better and be like, which of these actually has some like oomph behind it, like accuracy facts behind it. Because then you can address them. Probably it's just going to be because you feel vulnerable, and everybody feels vulnerable every now and then, especially in the face of screen time where you've been rejected a bunch.
Yeah,
absolutely. Or if you've just like, you know, feel like you've quote unquote failed at something else in life, it can make you kind of question everything. So it's okay to feel those feelings and just don't assume that they're true.
Yeah.
And then, just feel the feelings. It's okay. All of these feelings that we talk about this whole thing, it's fine. Just don't assume that any of them are fact about you because they very likely are not, but it's okay and normal to feel them. Yeah.
I mean, pretty much anything is like that. It's like if someone dies and you're feeling grief, that's real. Right. So you should let yourself feel that and everything. But if you just feel sad for no reason, it's probably not real. And so you can feel it and you can let yourself, you know, cry or be sad or whatever. I usually like try to watch a sad movie or something, so I feel justified and just feeling sad.
Catharsis. Yeah.
But really at the end of the day, know that it's not real.
Or if you feel like I feel so hopeless because I'll never be a successful writer, right? I think that's one that probably a lot of us have felt. Can you prove that? Can you prove that you'll never be a successful writer?
You can't prove a negative.
That's something my counselor used to say a lot to me. She'd be like, how do you know? And I'd be like, well, because I surely by now I would have had, more to show for all of this work. And she was like, can you prove it? Can you prove that all of the other successful writers out there didn't also first? Like, can you prove it? Right. So a lot of those feelings are just valid, normal human feelings. And they're usually come from a vulnerable place. You've been rejected. You're just exhausted, whatever it may be. And the feelings are valid. Feelings are always valid, but they might not be true. So just take a second before you really let those become a part of your worldview about yourself.
Yeah, and definitely.
Is it true? Can you prove it? Because if you can't prove it, maybe not. And then I have one more, and all of the writers are going to cringe when they hear it. Flora, get out of the garbage. Sorry, my cat's being
I did cringe at that.
Flora, this one's for you too, actually. As writers, okay, we tend to not be the most athletic people. Right?
Yes.
Okay, but it's extremely important to exercise some.
It is.
And that doesn't mean you have to go become a gym rat. And I still get a lot of shame, I feel like, from society, and also just because I shame myself like I don't need to, about not being a gym rat person. And I don't go on runs. They're really hard. They're also hard on my legs, but I also just hate it. But I do try to exercise like once a day or at least every other day now. And I do exercises that I find bearable. I have like some resistance bands. I got new ones that I like more than my old ones, so I'll use them more. I have a yoga mat. I used to do yoga every day. When it's warm enough, I swim, and I've got free diving and stuff. And now I go skating once a week. None of these things are particularly strenuous. You can't really. They're action. You wouldn't look at me and think she is exercises.
Right. She has
exercises. I don't look athletic. I don't really look like I exercise, and that's okay because it's not, you don't have to look like that. You don't have to be like, I'm going to exercise, so I'll look like all the people who exercise. You're doing it for your physical health because it's very important. And also for your mental and emotional health, because you'll feel better and you'll feel better about yourself for having taken care of yourself. And if you look better in the process, great, you'll feel better too. But even if you don't get the quote unquote, whatever your, looks you're looking for, you still have so many other benefits from it. And I just say this for writers, just because this is a habit. I think a lot of us tend to be more like couch potato-y. Just because we're more like in our heads, we tend to live in our heads. Find something that's physical that you don't mind doing, that you can do a couple times a week, because it's important.
Yeah. And I think on top of this too, when it comes to the alcohol or the coffee or soda is a big one, what you eat is also important. So I know it's very easy to just say, oh, I'm on a roll, I'm going to go and get something, like ramen or, something out of a prepackage or something like that. And like, that's fine every once in a while.
But not
I do this a lot where I forget to eat because I'm on a roll. And
I do that too, which is really bad.
Yeah. Every once in a while, it's fine, but you should be taking the time to try to eat as healthy as you can as well. And then combine that with some exercise. Yeah. And even if this sounds terrible and you really don't want to do it, it's probably going to make your writing better too, because you will be more awake and more, you'll feel better and you'll just be more focused, and that will make your writing better.
You'll have more energy all around. You'll digest better, which will like weirdly help you sleep better. Like all of this stuff really works together. And to the skipping meals thing, which is related, but has like sometimes different coping strategies. My problem is I will forget to eat, or if I get really sad, I just won't eat because nothing sounds good to me. The problem is, I don't know if anyone else experiences this. I'm sure I'm not the only one. I don't know if it's my hormones or what, but as soon as I get hungry, if I get like the first hunger pain and then I don't feed myself, my mood like 200 degrees drop, and it's, I am depressed and everything is horrible and life is miserable and I have to eat. And when it gets to that point, I don't want anything. So it's very hard to feed yourself. So it's like a self-defeating problem. So what my counselor had recommended, and it is really helpful for this, is to keep something around that, even if it is prepackaged, whatever it is, something that you will be able to grab and eat. So my thing is, I also have a lot of guilt about unhealthy eating. So I was like, okay, I can't just grab unhealthy packaged foods because even if that's what I'm craving, I'll feel bad about it. So instead I found these are my go-to foods. So I don't know if they'll help anyone, but popcorn, you can have a lot of popcorn, you know, and there's a lot of different flavors of it, and it kind of tastes like junk food without really being junk food.
It's one of the healthier junk food styles.
It's one of the quote unquote healthier junk food styles. So, and there's, you know, some popcorn, you can get like the skinny pop or whatever that has very little fat and salt on it, or you can get whatever, it's popcorn. So popcorn is one of my go-tos. I just keep it around. I don't eat it that much unless I'm in a moment where I am sad and I don't want to eat, because I will just make myself eat it anyways. It's crazy how an hour later I feel so much better. That, and I keep like organic burritos in my freezer. They are frozen burritos, but they're burritos. Like they're tiny. They're not bad for you. They're, it depends which ones. Some of them are, you know, big and full of like fat and whatever. And if you haven't eaten anything, eat something. It doesn't matter if it's bad for you at that point. But if you have the thing where you're also like, but I feel really guilty and I hate myself when I eat unhealthy, when I already am hating myself. Because there's like little compromises you can make. So so just don't do the thing, guys. Don't do it. And I'm talking to myself, which is why I keep reiterating this, where you don't eat, because it makes everything so much worse. It makes you feel catastrophic. It makes you bring up all those vulnerable feelings of, I'll never be a successful writer. I'll never be happy. Which, can I prove that? No. Would I feel better and probably not be thinking that at all if I had just eaten something? Yes. Would I not feel guilty if I had exercised that morning, so I wouldn't have had that misplaced guilt anyways about eating, so I would have eaten in the first place? Yes. It all works together. So just make healthy choices, guys. Just be intentional, and also know how the choices you make affect you. Now I know that when I don't eat, it makes me have really, really bad mood swings. That's not true for everybody. If you know that your caffeine is what hurts you, or alcohol is what hurts you, or lack of sleep is what hurts you, figure it out, address it. You will do better. No one's perfect. You won't nail it every time. I still forget to eat and then get too sad to eat, or I'm just too sad to eat. And I still get myself into ruts all the time, but just know how what you're doing is affecting you. Don't ever assume it's not affecting you at all.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, because I don't get that at all. Like if I don't eat, I don't get mood swings or anything. Like I'm fine. And I don't know if it's kind of the opposite problem, where if I then eat something, my blood sugar will just go suddenly up, and suddenly I'm like, I can't sit still. I have to like walk around, and I'll get like jittery and stuff like that. So then that ruins my writing mode or whatever. And so I've had to come to a place where I'm like, okay, if I'm hungry, which I'm not always hungry, and if I'm not hungry, I usually don't eat, but I mean, you know, whatever.
Everyone's got different things. Like coffee doesn't hurt some people, it hurts other people. Not eating, missing a meal might not mess with some people.
Yeah. And if I am hungry, but I'm like, gosh, but I'm in a really good writing place, I don't want to, you know, get out of that, I just can't eat things with sugar.
Yeah.
Right. So then I have to go for something that's not going to spike my blood sugar levels. So
Yep. I think that's true. Yeah. So just know how what you're putting into your body and into your mind is affecting you. I think because those tend to be our biggest vices as writers, are those two things. So just be aware.
Also drink more water. No one drinks enough water.
That's true. That's always Carissa's go-to. She drinks so much water.
It is the one thing I do right all the time.
If you're someone who doesn't like to drink water, you guys, let me tell you, if you guys can, you know how you can like train yourself to like stuff?
Yes.
You train yourself to like sparkling water. There's a bunch of different flavors, so you'll never get bored. So I kind of did that, and now I will still crave water. Also, you get to the point where the bubbles are kind of like It gives you that kind of like a thirst quenching feeling, like sometimes like lemon and citrus does in water. So if you have trouble drinking water, there's different types of water. Just explore with that, because until I was like a grown ass adult and moved out, I was always like, oh, tap water is my only option, or bottled water, like plain water is my only option for water. And I just didn't find that very interesting. Tea, herbal tea is another one. That is caffeinated tea is good, but not hydrating. Herbal tea is hydrating. So juice is actually extremely sugary. Actually, it's worse than some sodas. So just know which juice you're drinking or water it down some if that's going to be your go-to. But sometimes I'll put a splash of juice in my water if I need more flavor. But do drink water. Hydrate.
Drink water.
Yeah.
Not drugs. I don't know.
Drink water. Don't drink drugs.
Definitely don't do that. I'd probably kill you. I don't know.
It's my finished can of sparkling water. It's blackberry lemonade flavored sparkling water.
Nice.
Waterloo. If you live in Texas, I think this might just be a Texas brand, but it's delicious. If you ever see this anywhere, this is like the best sparkling water I've ever had. Anyways, do we have any other words of advice for our writer friends and artist friends to try and stay healthy? All of this is coming from stuff that we've pretty much experienced ourselves.
I know. I'm like, gosh, do I even have the right to say anything? Because I'm not good at most of this. I'm decent at the screen time thing just because I've had to be, because that's the one that affects me the most. Yeah. I have to just get out of my own headspace when I'm doing like, or get out of the media place. But the rest of it, I'm probably not. I don't know if I am being a hypocrite by telling you not to do it, because I do.
It's all about, it's not even about like being a hypocrite. It's just about acknowledging what you have issues with. I know of all the issues we discussed today, my biggest problems are I self-isolate, and I'm really bad at like checking myself on when it's been too long. And then I won't make myself do the hard thing of reaching out to people. I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to be more intentional about that. But step one is just knowing what you're doing and how it's affecting you. And I realized very recently that isolating myself is a coping mechanism, and that it's not helping me at all. That one, and that when I miss food, when I'm skipping food or I'm hungry and not eating, really messes with me. So I know that those are my two really, really bad ones. But
mine is mostly not eating as much sugar or consuming as much sugar, because it's in drinks a lot of times.
Yeah. I think a couple of years ago, not exercising was that, and in college too, because I didn't exercise regularly. So I just felt a lot of like guilt about that, but I didn't really need to. But also I think I just I knew I wasn't healthy.
Yeah.
So
when you feel bad, then you're like sensitive about it. And then you'll get more upset with people telling you to do it. And
because you're like, less inclined to do it. Yeah. Yeah. So I do think, thankfully, like that's not a very active problem for me. Knock on wood. Hopefully that won't become a problem again. But also you may deal with one now and a different one later, and because we're all just trying to constantly improve, or we should be. Yeah. So
life is a balancing act, and it's really hard.
It is, especially when you're an artist.
Especially when you're like me and you can't do more than one thing at once.
Yeah,
it's hard. It is.
When you have tunnel vision, or when you want to live primarily in your head. Yep. It can be hard to remember to take care of your physical self and your like mental, emotional self, but it's important. So these are just some of the coping mechanisms that are not always healthy, and habits that are not always healthy, just to keep in mind. And maybe maybe you do this stuff, but it's not a problem for you and it doesn't affect you negatively. That's totally fine. Just monitor yourself for your own health and happiness.
Be aware of it, and take note if you feel yourself starting to get caught up in one or more of these.
And self-destruction is not glamorous. Please stop glamorizing. I'm sure our listeners are so wonderful, they would never, but it's not a glamorous awesome, right? thing to they're awesome, they're perfect, they're like, actually we have no flaws at all.
They're like, but we can't relate to this at all, and we're like, good.
But let's as a culture stop glamorizing self-destruction, especially for artists, because it is and has always been glamorized, and it's not glamorous. It's miserable. So let's as a culture stop glamorizing that.
I think too, sometimes like we'll just come full circle and go back to the alcohol thing. I feel like a lot of times people will have an attitude of like, that's what makes you a good artist, or that's what makes you a good writer or whatever. And it's like, if you need alcohol to be a good writer, you're probably not a good writer.
Yeah.
And you can develop that skill without needing that. And so if you got to develop it without that, because that's not you. If you're a different person on alcohol than you are not, to the point where you think you can't write without it, you got to work on sober you. Sober you is the priority.
If that's how you feel, I feel like that might be when you want to talk to somebody who can help you, because that's difficult, because in that situation,
that's far down the line.
That's very far down the line. Yeah. But then like, you have the skill within you to be a good writer. It's probably more to do with confidence. I don't know. I'm not an expert. Substance abuse is not my area where I have gone to counseling for. So I'm no expert at that, but I would say if that's what you're feeling, then maybe talk to a counselor. That's what they're there for. There's literally no shame, because that is what they are there for. And we just want you guys to be healthy. We want to create and keep creating with you guys together, and see you guys creating amazing things, and also see you guys being healthy and happy, and not hurting. We just don't want everyone to keep hurting. You don't have to hurt all the time to be an artist.
Yeah, like there's this idea that in order to have something interesting and deep to say, you have to have experienced all this pain. And it's like, first of all, you can observe pain. And second of all, there's a lot of depth and joy also. So it doesn't have to be just one direction.
There's so much depth and joy. And also everybody hurts. Just because your hurt doesn't look like the glamorous hurt. Anyway, it's true. Everybody does hurt though. And it just because your hurt doesn't look like someone else's doesn't mean that you can't draw on that for your own. It doesn't mean you need to manufacture a hurt that's like that so that you too can be recognized as a writer. So, yeah.
I mean, you going through the process of overcoming something is also part of the depth and stuff that you can talk about. So
yeah, very much so.
Don't make yourself stay there because you think it makes you deeper. It doesn't. It just
doesn't.
Keeps you in a specific place. So
no, I think learning to know yourself and know how what you do affects you in what ways, I think that entire process makes you so much deeper and gives you so much more to draw on as an artist, especially as a writer. So that's more important than any kind of glamorizing self-destruction. I'm hurting because I'm supposed to be hurting as an artist type thing.
Yeah, don't fall into that trap. It's like even if alcohol made you a better writer, you still shouldn't be an alcoholic, but it's almost like that's not a good thing. And so if you get out of it, you will actually become better at all these other things, like being a writer. So it's not either or, it's both. So
yeah, I think that's very true. Well, hopefully nobody feels shamed. This is episode not about shaming anybody. If anyone's feeling called out, we're not trying to call anybody out here.
Yeah, one or both of us is doing all these things. So
it's true. Between us, we really have got all of these covered. Yeah. So, or we have in the past, and then there's always something too, like we'll never be perfect. I'm sure if hopefully I kick at least one or two of what I'm struggling with right now, I'm sure I'll develop something else, because that is human nature. But that's why it's more about the habit of learning to recognize what you're doing and how it's affecting you than specifically habit by habit. But we're not calling anyone out here. We are just trying to tell y'all, just a reminder to take care of yourselves, because we want you guys to take care of yourselves. Yeah, because we love you all.
Do not romanticize self-destruction.
And do not romanticize self-destruction.
It's not great. Artists. This is also something that happens in books. Like with the characters, people will be like, oh, he's been through all this tragedy, or he's an alcoholic and he's this and that, or she, or whatever. And it's like, isn't he great? And it's like, I don't know. Seems pretty damaging and dangerous, but okay.
Yep. Yeah, movies still do it too. So let's stop glamorizing self-destruction. But yeah. Anyways, anything else to say about this theme?
Nope. That's about it, I think.
Sweet. Do you have any writing updates you didn't mention last time?
Oh, darn, I should have saved one from last time. No, that's it.
Okay, well, I have your writing update, because I started reading the book that you sent me.
Yay!
It's so good. I guess I somehow didn't realize it was set in the same world as your other series. So I was like, hang on, I know this. Yeah. But oh my God, it's so good. I just read like the first chapter really early this morning because I couldn't sleep. And I was like, oh my God, wait, do I finally have like time I don't have to dedicate to something else, and I can start reading this? And it's so good. And so I'm going to keep reading it little by little, and I'm very much enjoying it. Very strong opening. Nice work.
Thank you. It's probably the best opening I've ever come up with. I'm just like, anyway, not to brag about myself.
No, but it's great. And so that's my writing update. I don't have one. I'm reading Carissa's writing at the moment.
Yay. I'm so excited.
Yay.
I don't know. There are two parts that I feel like if I wrote it correctly will be like a gasp moment. So text me when you get to them.
Oh my God. I'll be like, I just gasped. I'm going to send the emoji, the gasp.
So you'll be like 10 times like gasp. No, this was it. Gasp. No, it was this one. I don't know. If I wrote it correctly, there should be some good surprises / twists. So
I love surprises. I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Yay.
Thank you for putting this out into the universe for me.
You're welcome. Thank you for reading it.
Of course. Let's see. Anything else about writing?
Nope. Now I'm just really excited to get feedback from you. So yay.
I just have to read through it like little by little.
Yeah.
I'm so bad about reading. This is my problem.
That's fair.
Yeah. But anyways, if you guys want to keep up with us during the week, you certainly can. You can follow us on TikTok and Instagram. We are the Scripturian Society. You can join our writers group for freezies on Patreon. We are Story Siren Studio. That is our production company. You can also learn more about us and look at some very cool merch that we have on storysirenstudio.com. That goes just to support us and the pod. And do you guys know, like, it's shocking how much money it costs to produce these things. But yeah, so if you guys want to go check it out, you can certainly do that. If you guys want to chat about your, writing coping mechanisms, artist habits, whatever it may be, if you want to just reach out and chat. We are here. We would love to hear from you. You can reach out on social media. You can email us at contact@storysirenstudio.com. We are here for you. There is no judgment because we've probably already done it.
Yep.
Yeah. So we're here for you guys, be it that or be it some other writing thing you want to talk about, whatever it is. Yeah. So I think that everything.
Yes.
I'm going to reiterate to go check out TikTok because it is full of very funny videos by Karissa all about being a writer. So also go check that out if you want to giggle, because I'm
very excited about several that are coming out soon. Like I made a whole batch and I'm like, gosh, I'm hilarious. So
and how many do you have in draft right now?
Currently 47.
47, you guys. So you are not going to run out of content.
No.
That Pretentious Book Club's TikTok is much sadder. You can also follow my personal TikTok. There's even fewer on that one.
But it's good stuff.
It's all good stuff. Actually,
it's all the same quality packed into fewer.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. What she said. It is funny though, because always the ones that I think are really funny, especially my personal one, get nothing.
Yep.
And I'm like, this is objectively way funnier than everything else on my page. Why this one?
I saw like a social media person being like, TikTok wants your videos to do well. And I'm like, does it? No, because it doesn't seem to show the good ones to anyone.
Yeah, you're like, no, they want some people to do well.
Yeah, I find TikTok suspicious, but
I find all social media suspicious because I'm like, after many years of trying to do this, I still don't get it. I still don't understand how this works. Yeah. Weird. Though, go help us out with our social media imposter syndrome. I don't know. Go give us a like, you guys. But you don't have to, because we are still valuable as our creations regardless.
We will feel the same about ourselves as people, whether you do or not.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Invite your writer artist friends to listen to the pod, to follow us on the social, so we can keep growing the writers group. The more the writers group grows, the more we can do. That's just the way it is. If you guys want to leave us a review, if you didn't hate this episode, that would be super nice of you. So you guys can do that down below if you're on Apple Podcasts. I think you can even rate podcasts on Spotify now. It's a new feature. So if you feel so inclined, go do that for us. Thank you guys for being here every week, and always we are here for you, and we are so glad that you guys are out there in the world creating. So don't get too down. We're all in this together, at the risk of sounding like I'm quoting High School Musical. But we are.
Yeah.
Well, until next week, everybody, keep writing.
And we'll see you on the next page.